While the wrangling in Canberra continues over how to price carbon, a new battle is emerging on how to measure power use. Victoria is the first state to roll out smart meters, but it's been plagued by customer complaints about incorrect readings, forcing the new state government to launch an inquiry. As James Panicki reports, Australia's biggest energy users are also worried they could face a looming bill shock.
Just a few hours east of Melbourne is this idyllic setting for Victoria's largest power plants. But there's trouble in paradise.
We've forked out $850 for equipment to monitor exactly what's going on and put in thousands of hours of noting down figures and things. And now that we've got the data, it raises a lot of concerns, but where do you take it?
Jenny Thompson's house was designed to be energy efficient, and she's a model citizen of electricity use. But for years she's been locked in a struggle with her power company, and it's all because of this, a smart meter.
We were querying things like, why is a 4.8 kilowatt hot water service drawing 8.6 kilowatts of energy per hour? Yet they wouldn't provide an answer for it. There was all sorts of questions that we had and they would not provide answers. CD I've given you.
Eventually, Jenny Thompson came to the view that her smart meter was misreading her energy consumption.
Approximately $560 per annum in excess, yeah.
And how much of an increase are we talking about?
About 60% more than what we were actually using.
Incidents like this have turned Victoria's groundbreaking metering program into a bureaucratic nightmare for the new state government to fix, and many observers believe the rollout's model is partly to blame. While energy retailers have to compete for customers, energy distributors, the companies that move the power into homes and businesses, operate as monopolies, and those monopolies are rolling out Victoria's smart meters.
One of the real problems with any monopoly business is that they don't care whether you're a customer or not, and so trying to pursue a particular complaint with the distributors, if they don't respond quickly, no skin off their nose.
When Jenny Thompson noticed something was wrong with her meter, she turned to her distributor, but the company stood by its readings, and not even the state electricity regulators could change that. Energy consultant Jeff Washerson says regulators are often powerless to intervene.
Well, they're not very effective at all in protecting consumer rights. They don't get actively involved in it. If consumers don't fight for their economic rights, then they get, I guess, the service that they deserve.
Meters are part of the whole asset base of electricity distributors, and managing meters is nothing new. It's just part of the whole process of managing assets, which is the role of electricity distributors.
Australian distributors say the Victorian rollout, which places them at centre stage, remains by far the most cost-effective.
And a major study was commissioned in 2007-2008 to look at, well, what's the best way to proceed with it in Australia, and basically concluded that the maximum benefits would be delivered by a distributor-led rollout. They certainly considered distributors, retailers, even communications companies leading the rollout, but the conclusion was it's best, the benefits will be greatest if it's a distributor-led rollout.
They're not really telling the whole story here. They are not the only ones who have this expertise. In fact, they use contractors to do this.
And with energy traded in the national electricity market worth almost $7 billion a year, consumers are afraid faulty metering could have a big impact. Domanski, who represents large energy users, is also concerned about the meter's price tag.
These things are less sophisticated than, a number of items that you can go down to your local Harvey Norman or Dick Smith and buy, yet the distributors are given a monopoly over them. So as with any monopoly, what usually happens is the price or the cost goes up significantly.
Victoria's coalition government responded to the public outcry by announcing a review of the program it inherited.
We've said we want a full review, which means that if the program shouldn't continue, then we want to hear that. If the program needs to continue because of the various sunk costs that have already been expended, then we need to hear that. But we also need to hear how it can be improved.
State and territory governments around Australia will be closely watching Victoria's next move. That's because through COAG they have all signed up to a distributor-led rollout similar to Victoria's. But the future of smart meters in Australia might have more to do with smart politics than good policy. And with consumer dissatisfaction on the rise, state governments might be reluctant to make further investments, leaving smart meters out in the cold.
When I attend national meetings of energy ministers from around the country and the Victorian Smart Meter program appears on the agenda, there's a collective rolling of eyes and grimacing, and I think a little bit of sympathy felt for me as the minister that's now in charge of this program. I think that the mistakes that have been made in Victoria are something that the rest of the country can and should go to school on.
It's a monopoly. It doesn't need to be. Therefore, it's bad. It's costly. People don't need to be paying those sort of costs, in my view, and the Victorian government needs to consider that.
We've been on a steep learning curve for almost 3 years to learn how to read and understand all the data and interpret it and put it all together, because there is no organisation out there that seems geared up to helping someone through this.
Now it's up to government and power companies to either find a way to restore public confidence in the process or face the prospect of consumers demanding the right to opt out and switch off.